Hey, welcome to your local fast food chain. Can I take your order?
Yeah, can I get a double cheeseburger, large fries, some tots, and I guess a diet soda?
Hi, it's Sav and Jess. Welcome to And a Diet Soda, an opportunity for people to celebrate their successes, share their failures, and hopefully give a little advice on all things relatable along the way.
This community is for appreciating the little things and fostering positive mindsets and intuitive thoughts by talking to people, because chances are they've been through it too.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Sav.
And I'm Jess, and welcome to And a Diet Soda, episode 4, A Pro Athlete's Point of View. Today, we're going to be talking about nutrition with a very active lifestyle, the importance of fueling your body, and some negative stereotypes associated with diet and gender.
So, our guest today is John Rush. You can find him on Instagram as at John Rush. He's a vegan Canadian professional athlete who won the Grey Cup, runs a vegan food blog, is a dog lover, and a financial advisor. So, I started following John on Instagram from one of the doctors that I had followed who's also vegan and plant based. And I found him and thought that his content was hilarious. So, I just started following him. So, welcome, John. We're super excited to have you on today. Um, First, just really quickly, I don't know what a Grey Cup is. Like I had to Google it. So if you could just explain what that is.
Yeah, no, for sure. First of all, thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to, be doing this with you guys and talking about all these things. And it's actually the easiest way to explain a Grey Cup is it's basically the Super Bowl, but in Canada. It's actually older than the Super Bowl. It's pretty crazy how much history there is behind this thing. It's a giant trophy. It's got like 110 years on it. And there's so much history behind this thing. That was really cool about winning it. But the easiest way to explain it is it's just the Super Bowl, but in Canada.
So is it like for the whole team or is it individualized?
Yeah, no, it's a whole team
Whole
award.
team.
Yeah.
Nice. That's amazing.
That's awesome.
So how long have you been playing football for?
So I started playing football when I was like 9 years old. So bar last year because our season got canceled because of everything going on. I'd been playing football for 17 straight years.
Wow. Wow. Okay, amazing. Well, we're super excited just to talk to you. We have some questions to get into. Um, So, where did your interest in nutrition kind of originate? We're just going to start there as we start to speak about your experience with football and also as a male.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like my being an athlete, nutrition was kind of always top of mind for me, just like understanding what I was putting in my body, and just trying to have the best body possible to be the best athlete possible, right? So for basically since I was in first year university is when I started taking my nutrition a lot more seriously, and started kind of being aware of what I was putting in my body, not just going and eating fast food or eating kind of pizza a couple times a week and things like that. I was much more food is fuel, um, which kind of sucked, to be honest, because then like the food I was eating really took a hit because I was eating like, this is before I was vegan, right? So I was eating like chicken breast, brown rice, and like sometimes I would add broccoli in, and like I wouldn't put like sauce on it, like so it was just like super bland food all the time. Where it evolved because first year university I was 17, and so that's kind of like where I kind of started really focusing on more nutrition and like how much protein I was getting in and how much how I was trying to get stronger because I was like at that time I was only 200 pounds and I needed to be like 220. So I was trying to just kind of focus on getting stronger and bigger at that point. So
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, I kind of just wanted to quickly ask how you were able to even consider being vegan. How does that even, I mean, we're going to get into a little bit, but how do you go from eating chicken and rice to even start incorporating like other types of plant-based proteins or vegetables at all? Because a lot of our listeners too are just questioning how they can even do that because it's really, it's harder than we kind of make it seem to be.
yeah, no, 100%. And to be honest, it's always funny because before I went vegan, I was like a huge vegan hater. Like I always like made fun of vegans. And then it's the classic, like I'd never even met a vegan. I just thought they were all idiots. because of like what you see on, in the media. Like my brother and his wife read Beyonce's book, and she goes vegan for like 1 month a year, and so they did it, and I like made fun of them about it, and but I was working with a trainer, and I had switched positions, so I was a linebacker my entire career, and when I got to the pros, they were like, "Hey, what do you think about playing fullback?" And I'm like, "Okay, this is super different, but like I'll try it." And in Canada, fullbacks are like basically kind of glorified receivers, so we have to be a lot smaller than an American fullback. So I had to lose like 30 pounds, and like my weight is always something I struggled with like my entire life. So I was working with a trainer at the time, and he's just like, "Dude, you've tried everything." He's like, you tried going keto, you tried intermittent fasting. He's like, you tried all these like gimmicky things that like are meant to lose weight, and he's like, you haven't been able to do it. Like, go vegan for a month, try it, see what happens. And he's like, I'll help you through it. I'll kind of like build you a meal plan. We'll walk through this together, make sure you're getting enough protein. And at the end of the month, he's like, at the end of the month, if you hate it, we'll just go back to eating meat. Like, but at this point, you have nothing to lose. And I just said, yeah, you know what? Like you're right. I'm like, I literally have tried everything else. So, it was difficult at the start. It was very difficult. Like I had to teach myself how to basically, I had to like relearn how to cook everything. Like every food I ever made had like meat or dairy in it. So I had to like relearn. Like I ate the same meal for that entire first month. I ate the same 3 meals every single day because I had no idea what else to make. I just knew I needed to hit my protein targets, like my protein, carbs, and like fat targets. That's all I was worried about. And so I just made that meal, and like that kind of goes back to like the athlete like mentality. I was able to do that, but for most people like that, like they shouldn't have to do that. That's not what I recommend doing, because it was miserable. It was a miserable first month of being a vegan.
Yeah, so that does sound really miserable. How did that transition go from being that bland first month where you're following a really strict meal plan? I mean, there's no way that you still follow. It's just not attainable, or not. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not long-term realistic. So how did you transition into more of a lifestyle instead of a diet plan?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because you know, because I'm an athlete, it made it easier kind of to like be like, hey, like I'm doing this for my goal of losing. Like I needed to lose that weight. I needed to lose that 30 pounds. So I knew what I was working towards. But whenever people ask me, they're like, oh, like if, how do I transition to vegan? And like, I did it overnight, and I never tell people to do that. I'm like, it'd be great. I would love the whole entire world to go vegan overnight. And, we live in this world where we don't, hurt animals, but like, it's just not realistic. So like, I always tell people, buy a cookbook, or like find a creator you like on YouTube, on, whatever, find their website on Instagram, wherever it is. And then just try to make their recipes, try some of their recipes, find which ones you like, because it's just like eating like you already do. Like you're going to find recipes you like, and you're going to find recipes you don't like. It just, there's no difference. So after that first month, that's when I decided to continue doing it. I was like, okay, like if I'm going to continue doing this, I actually have to like figure out how to eat other things. So I bought 2 cookbooks. One of them was like vegan comfort classics. So there was like mac and cheese, like, fried chicken and things like that in it. And so I started kind of incorporating like meals like that in, and yeah, like because I knew they weren't like good for my health, but when I got to my goal weight, like I was able to be like, okay, like I'm at my goal weight, I can start to like kind of enjoy some foods and things like that. So it was nice to have those cookbooks where I could make those foods that I like enjoyed before I went vegan, and kind of make them like vegan versions of them that tasted good, and it made it more sustainable, where I wasn't craving the other food, so I wouldn't like kind of fall off the bandwagon. But yeah, it was a transition, and there was a lot of it was difficult because I did do it overnight, which definitely don't advise anybody else do.
So you're saying that, or I heard you say that you kind of started to do it because you needed to lose weight, right? So what do you have to say for the people who don't necessarily want to lose weight, or maybe even just want to like sustain their current weight? Is that something that you found challenging to do on a vegan diet? What are some things that you've been able to do to sustain the weight that you want to, and while also hitting protein? And protein is something we'll talk about later on too, but
Yeah, no, for sure. So that's a great question. It's one I get a lot is, you can't be big and be vegan. I'm actually back up to my original weight. Like I gained all the way back in a good way. Like it's, it's muscle and things like that. So like, I'm not upset by it by any means. And my role switched slowly. So I needed to gain back the weight from this glorified receiver position. Um, but yeah, no, like initially I needed to lose the weight. So it was great. I was getting a lot of, extra micronutrients in, and, a lot of extra fiber, because realistically, when I was eating like brown rice and chicken and like sometimes broccoli, like I wasn't getting enough fiber in. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand in today's society is, a lot more people are fiber deficient than they are protein deficient. And so, when I started incorporating all these extra, veggies into my diet and being vegan, it initially kickstarted that kind of being like, my body was like, oh, like, yeah, we can kind of start functioning normally. But yeah, no, it's not that difficult to sustain the weight. You just need to know which foods are calorie dense and which ones have high protein. And um, it's funny because I easily get more protein in now as a vegan than I ever did on before I was vegan. Just because one, like I'm hyper aware of where all my protein's coming from now, right? I'm always focused on, not always focused on it, but I know, because I did so much research at the start to figure out which foods have protein. Where I'm like, okay, like I know this has this much protein. I know that has that much protein. So like I'm just kind of very aware of where my protein's coming in now. Um, but yeah, it's not that difficult if you know which foods are calorie dense. Like if you make a big bowl of quinoa and put like some veggies on top, that's probably not going to be great, because it's like 200 calories, right? Just because it looks like a lot of food doesn't mean it's actually a lot of food. But if you added like if you added like a couple lentils to it, one, that's going to have a huge protein boost, but also that's going to have a huge calorie boost for you as well. So, it's sometimes people make it kind of more complicated than it is, where it's just like, building weight and gaining weight and maintaining muscle on a vegan diet, it's the exact same as on a non-vegan diet. It's calories in, calories out. There's no difference. It's like, it's not like because you're on a vegan diet, your body's all of a sudden it burns calories a completely different way. It's the exact same. You just need to know where to get those calories. So you gotta kind of just learn. Yeah, like I did. I had to learn. I had to learn about lentils. I didn't know what a fucking lentil was before I went. I like learned about lentils. I was just like, man, like, what is this thing? So you just got to learn about it, and teach yourself kind of where all this stuff's coming from now.
Yeah, I don't know if you just saw that, but you just blew my mind with the whole quinoa thing. I'm so uneducated when it comes to plant-based diets. I totally thought you were going to be like, yeah, big bowl of quinoa, lots of veggies. That's a great meal. I'm like tracking, and all of a sudden you're like, nope. I'm like, oh, okay. But I think that's a really great point, that your body cannot tell the difference. Calories in is calories out, and it is going to process it. Of course, there are micronutrients and there are different ways that your body does things, but like the bottom line is calories in is the same exact, no matter what, no
Exactly.
matter if it's plant-based or animal-based. Um, and so obviously there's exceptions to that. Don't come at me. But so we would love to talk to you about being a man and having a vegan diet and kind of the stereotypes around that, because we I think I see men struggle a lot to become vegan and incorporate more plants into their diet because society tells the man that they are expected to be big and strong. But here you are, vegan, big, strong, up your weight, you said. So how does that affect you? How is that from the beginning to now and all that?
Yeah, no, it's been really interesting because like I said before, like, I was a big vegan hater before, and I thought kind of I was very much in that same boat where I thought you couldn't get enough protein. I thought like um like you couldn't build muscle and things like that. So yeah, I get it. Like I get where they're coming from. Like, since I've been playing football since I was 9, and since I was 9 years old, I've been told that I need to eat meat to get my protein, to be big and strong, right? So, and it's funny looking back now because like I, the coaches that were telling you you need to eat meat are, like these random volunteer coaches, and like you're like, man, like that guy like worked for the city. Why was I taking nutrition advice from this guy? Like, and like no hate to people that work at cities, but like I don't like I'm not going to I'm not going to you for nutrition advice. Like if I need a permit for something, like yeah, like you're the first person I call, but not for nutrition. Like to have these things like ingrained in your mind from such a young age from people that don't really know what they're talking about, it makes it difficult, right? And that's like most men, right? So it was difficult at first, kind of um, figuring that out and figuring out that you don't actually need meat for protein, and just like how ingrained that is in like our society, and how linked meat is to masculinity, which is a pretty crazy space. But like a lot of people, and I talk about it now. I joke. A lot of people always ask, they're like, "Yo, like, did the guys on the team ever like come at you for it?" And I'm like, "No, like the guys on the team were all really cool about it, and it's not like I ever like had some like big announcement where I'm like, oh, I'm vegan, like like respect my wishes. It's just like it just kind of came out organically, like throughout people like following me on Instagram, finding out I was vegan. And for the most part, I mean, like boys will be boys. Like we're gonna chirp each other about something. You know what I mean? Like whether it's me being vegan or me having dog, like guys are gonna like make fun of each other for whatever, right? Like in a friendly way when you're friends. But like nothing was ever like I've never been like maliciously attacked. And for the most part, guys are always just like the guys on the team are always just more inquisitive, being like, how how are you doing this? Like they're like, dude, what? Like all I ever see you eat is like chickpeas. Like, how are you doing this? And because like they're in the same boat that I was, right? They're in the same boat that they were being told since they were 9 that you need meat. And so now they have this guy that's sitting beside them eating chickpeas, and they're like, all right, what's going on here? So, and then the Game Changers movie came out, and a lot of them watched that, and a bunch of them had questions, and they were just very inquisitive. And yeah, for the most part, guys on the team are very supportive, very inquisitive, and it's opened a lot of conversations towards it, especially because more and more athletes are turning towards it for performance. I do take some heat for it online every once in a while. Like I'll get called like soy boy and stuff like that. And I always think it's funny when random people on the internet will try and call out a professional athlete, and it's just like, man, like what, like how do you have so much time on your hands? But like it's just like about like kind of like educating and trying to break down that, I don't want to say myth, but that kind of preconception of vegans in society, that they are weak and frail, and there's that big misconception that soy is filled with estrogen and things like that, and it's going to give you man boobs. And like I don't know, I've been eating a block of tofu a day for almost 4 years, and nothing bad's happened yet.
Oh
So
my gosh. First of all, I want to get you a cape that says soy boy because that sounds like the coolest superhero. You're like the newest edition of Marvel over here.
yeah, literally.
No, that's amazing. I have seen the hate that you get online, and that's a question we have later on. So I'm gonna hold off on that. But yeah, Jess, I don't know if you've watched Game Changers, and for our listeners, I just encourage people to get their like get their research in, listen and watch multiple different things. We've talked a little bit in an episode, it's episode 6 actually coming up, about documentaries a little bit, but really allow yourself to get education from multiple different sources, and especially with plant-based diets at all, start to look into a little bit. Like John said, I mean, you don't have to do it overnight, but if you can start to learn a little bit about different plants, different like tofu, tempeh, seitan, there's so many different words that when I started doing this, I was like, seitan, like I'm eating the devil, like what? I don't know what this is right now. So just give yourself some grace with looking into it. And also, if you're just trying to incorporate more vegetables and you're just trying to be like plant predominant, allow yourself grace with that. It's hard, especially, I mean, I don't know what it's like in Canada. It sounds very similar, but especially in America, we are plant very deficient and animal heavy. And that's especially what I grew up in too. So I liked to give myself a little bit of grace with that and not beat myself up. So um, kind of bouncing off that, I really loved a video that you put up on Instagram, I think it was, and you kind of spoke about how important it is for vegans to kind of represent ourselves and how we're able to meet people in the middle, because we kind of have to facilitate a conversation here with people who are eating animals and animal protein. So I just wanted to know what kind of advice you would give to people who are still kind of stuck in the mindset of not really understanding that plants do have protein, by do you like bunking these myths, and just kind of what would you get, what ideas would you give to somebody who's trying but just not really sure where they need to start?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that video I posted, um, it was, it was because I follow a lot of vegans, obviously, and I see a lot of them sometimes, and like the tactics they use, and I'm just like, man, like this isn't what's going to turn people vegan. This isn't like we need to do a lot better at like educating people, and kind of just like, I'm a big believer in, walking the walk and showcasing people, how you can live um that life properly. And because my parents, like my dad grew up, like he was born in 1955. His entire life he like has been shoved this propaganda that you need meat, you need potatoes. He's very meat and potatoes heavy. He's actually vegan now, but be like his entire life he's been, shoved this material. Like he was an athlete in high school, but that was it. Like he never had that kind of, that he never grew up with the internet. He doesn't even have a cell phone still. Like he's one of those guys, like, and there's plenty of people like that. So, as vegans, we need to, you know help bring those people along, because it's just not realistic to expect everyone to go vegan overnight. It's just not going to happen, right? So we need to help educate people and be like, hey, like especially for my dad, why he went vegan was because he became pre-diabetic. And I talked to him, and I'm just like, listen, dude, like I didn't choose to be in this world. You made a conscious decision to have me, and it'd be a really shitty thing to do for you to like treat your body like shit and die. And that's how I worded it to him. And I'm like
That's what
that's
I
like,
literally say to my parents too. So.
yeah, you know what I mean? So that's not fair to me. Like, you're my dad. I need you here. And I understand people will die someday, but we can kind of prolong that. We can prolong how long you live. And clearly what you're doing right now, you're pre-diabetic, dad. You're 60 years old, you're pre-diabetic. That's not healthy. You don't become pre-diabetic or you don't become diabetic at 60 because you're living a healthy lifestyle. That's not really how it works, right? So I'm like, you need to figure this out. And obviously, I wouldn't advocate saying that to other people, but because he was my dad, I was able to kind of shoot straight with him with it. And then he went vegan. But like, it was a slow process. It was, he would see how I did it. I was at the time I was living with my parents, and me and my mom been vegetarian for 15 years at that point, and we would make meals and he would eat the vegan meals and showcase them that way. And it was a very slow process of incorporating different meals and different things. So we need to give people grace in that regard, where it's just like, man, we need to like help people along their journey, wherever that might be, without being critical, and without just condemning them for eating meat, or eating animal products. Like my parents, the last thing they did before they went vegan was they still used dairy creamer in their coffees, because that's that's what they grew up on. Like that's what, like, since my dad was 16, he had been using creamer, like dairy creamer, in his coffee. There was no such thing as oat milk. There was, you know what I mean? There was no such thing as any of these things. So like that was the last thing. And then they finally found one that they enjoyed. And it's just like, you have to give people grace. We're not going to win any battles. We're not going to save more animals. We're not going to help the world by just yelling at people. And I mean, like I did that with my dad, but he was dying, so it's fair. But but like, we're like random people on the internet. We're not going to do that, and it's not going to change any minds on the internet. You know what I mean? So how I live, how I try and do my activism, and is just to showcase, be like, hey, look, I'm 230 pounds. I'm a pro athlete. If I can do it, I can be muscular. I can play this very physical sport. Kind of so can you. And you know what I mean? And so that's kind of how I try and do my activism, is just kind of lead by example, because I think that does a lot more than commenting under people's posts, being like, oh, you shouldn't be eating meat. Like, that's not changing anybody's minds. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that is such an important topic that you just brought up about education, because it's so interesting. It comes from both ends as well. And the one thing that we really highlight in this podcast is options over opinions. And I think what you just said totally encompasses that, because I'm sitting over here as totally pro agriculture, totally lived my life at cattle farms, dairy. I don't have very much experience in poultry, so I'm not really going to speak on that, but like, I am certainly go hung agriculture. And everything that you were saying about education and misconceptions and attacking people and to try to get them convinced one way or another is not the way to do it. I totally agree, because there's so many educational tactics in agriculture where they're like, beef is the only way, beef is best, and that's, I mean, I love beef, but that's not the best way for everyone with various health concerns and everything. And the animal industry alone, there's also a lot of I don't even want to say misconceptions, because your truth is your truth, my truth is my truth, and the fact of the matter is you just have to take these facts surrounding agriculture and surrounding veganism and develop your own opinion about them, and see where you want to go. Because I tell people all the time that if you're looking at this dairy or this cattle ranch and you think to yourself, man, that really makes me sad and I don't want to use animals for that, then that is your opinion and that's totally valid. But the fact is that those opinions have to stem from facts. And
No, I get what you're saying. I mean, there I feel like personally for me, I mean, I have also a lot of education around like food security and stuff. And it's really hard to see both sides and try to come in the middle to educate people. I don't know what it's like up in Canada for you or where you're at, John, but like I grew up in a very like rural place. Like literally there's a farm. Actually, I'm just surrounded by farms right now. And so it's hard because I feel like what people have access to really differs as well. And a lot of it's sad that both aspects are not really incorporating the health aspect, because my dad was also pre-diabetic actually. And I get yelled at by my mom still. I mean, I'm 24 years old and I still get yelled at because I give tough love. And I'm just like, I would never do that to somebody else. But for my family alone, I'm like, you need to get your shit together, exactly what you said. And I just feel that I wish that there was a way to really meet in the middle on both ends to just come to like a general agreement and understanding and education for people's health, because it's very well known at this point that a diet, I mean, the classic American diet, a diet high in saturated fats and high processed foods, this is not
Yeah,
sustainable. This is not good for your health.
for sure.
And it's not, like you said, it's not realistic to expect people to go vegan overnight. And I don't think personally it's even realistic that everyone is going to do it, at least in my lifetime, just because they don't have access to things that, at least I do. I mean, I grew up going to Sprouts and stuff and thinking that's what people did, and then learning about how people, elsewhere, like inner cities especially, they don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. So I don't know, it's a really challenging concept, just all around. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, 100%. And that's kind of the thing about being vegan is it's more, a lot of people confuse the two where, being vegan is more of the actual ethical standpoint of just not wanting to harm animals, where plant-based is more of the diet, right? The diet related side. So, being vegan for me is more about, obviously I have my two giant dogs, and, I'm kind of more into the whole animal aspect side of it. But yeah, like you said, like, the typical American diet it's just not sustainable. It's not, like, it's killing people literally every day with the, high in processed foods and saturated fats, and it's becoming a huge problem. And Dr. Bellardo actually came out with the other day and talked about how it can still be, you can still be healthy and eat meat on a plant predominant diet. And she took a huge, she got, she took
oh
huge
yeah.
heat for it. But that's been pretty known for a while now in the community, that you can still do that. Um, but like I said, for me, it's the ethical side of the animals. That's why I'm vegan now. But yeah, so like that completely makes sense. But like you said, like the typical standard American diet that, or even the North American, it's not just in America, it's in Canada too. Like the fast food, the
Yeah.
fact that fast food is so, prevalent in society is it's not great.
No, yeah. And I think I actually saw her posting about that and read some of those research articles, but she was talking about the fact that there's not enough evidence, like clinically speaking, and enough like evidence-based research to show a significant difference between a plant-based diet and something like a Mediterranean diet where you can still incorporate meat. But I think that's like my goal in life is I've just experienced in my personal life my veganism and people hating on it. So like I'm glad that you haven't experienced much of that, at least in your personal life. I know you have online, which we're going to talk about next, but um I at this point in my life, I just really want to stress the positive impact on people by eating plants predominantly in their diet. By if you like, I don't think my dad will ever stop eating meat. But that's like, let's take like a quarter of that steak that you're eating, and then like let's replace those potato, or maybe just like get a portion of those potatoes and then put like a salad next to it or something, or like let's just start to incorporate things. So rather than hate on these different industries, personally, it's hard. It's really hard, ethically speaking, personally. But like I've just really tried to help people learn how to incorporate more plants into their diet. Like period. I mean, even I feel like we've made a positive impact. Like Jess even like is making small changes already, and
There you go.
like she's like snap peas all the way. She gave me some snap peas when I was at her house yesterday, and it's just about trying to like come to a middle ground. So yeah, I'm glad to be able to have the conversation around it.
Yeah, I mean, coming to that middle ground and just providing those options is so important. Like there are tons of different kinds of vegetables that you can eat and how they give you different nutritional factors and different fat contents and protein contents. Same exact thing for different cuts of steak, different types of meat, all of that. The rancher, there's incredible research about what you feed the cattle based on what they're going to end up with for fat content, obviously with marbling, if they are a corn-based diet, if they're grass-fed, all of this different research that I think is just important for everyone to be educated on before you make an opinion. I think education is the number one thing that we're trying to push here is just have all the facts, and then whatever opinion you have is absolutely right for you, and that's what's going to work. But do yourself the honor of giving yourself options and having all of the information before you make a decision.
Totally. Cool. So we now want to talk about the hate just really quickly. So we've seen some of the hatred that you have gotten online, and we just want to know how you're able to handle any of that at all. Like, people are coming at you from left and right all the time. So what is that like for you, and how are you able to handle that?
It's interesting. Actually, I've been getting a lot more of it lately as I become more and more vocal on Twitter and things like that. Because before, like, I basically only ever posted my dogs because, like, you know, who doesn't want to see dogs? So, but now I've kind of started to use my voice a little bit more on Twitter, and Instagram as well, and just to, like, you know, provide commentary. And I realize I do have this platform. Like on Twitter, I get, you know, 6 million monthly impressions on my, like, account. So a lot of people see my shit. You know what I mean? So, like, I was like, okay, like, I should probably try and use this for more than just dog pictures. Like, dog pictures are great. I still post them all the time. Obviously, like, if you go to any of my social medias, it's basically still all dogs, but just to provide a little bit of extra commentary and stuff like that. But for the most part, I find it funny. You know, I find it funny that these people um, come at me from these different angles. And the other day, the director of marketing for egg farmers in Canada, I posted a picture on Twitter as a joke, and it was a picture of me barbecuing, and I posted it, and I'm just like, oh, like, me barbecuing for all of me and my soy boyfriends. And she, like, just like a joke. It was an old picture, like, I didn't like, and it was just me barbecuing, and she comments on it and says gross. And so I go to her profile, and she's like that the director of marketing for the egg industry or egg farmers in Canada. I'm just like, how, like, a full grown woman took time out of her day to comment that, you know, on my profile. And I just like laughed it off. And I'm like, I literally can't believe this. Like that you took, as a grown adult, you'd spend time doing this. And then a lot of people, like, came at her. Like, a lot of my followers were like, man, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like,
You're like, first of all, have you tried my soy burgers?
I know, exactly, right? But it's always, like, for me, it's more funny. And I was thinking about this the other day, because I post a lot about toxic masculinity and you know, women, like, supporting women and things like that. And I get called, like, a simp a lot. And I'm just like, I love that word. I love it so much, because it really, like, people that use it and use it seriously are really showing you and showing the world that they don't support women. Like, it's like the easiest way to figure out that, yeah, this guy is a garbage person. If he uses the word simp, then yeah, he's terrible. Like that, like, that means that he doesn't believe that another man can support a woman. I'm like, yeah, one, you would never say that to my face, and two, you won't do this. Like, you won't do the cool things I've done. So I just laugh it off, because I'm just like, imagine spending your time online, you know, just directing hate towards people and doing that. So like, sometimes it is difficult, but for the most part, it's just I find it comical that there are people in this world that they're, and it's mostly men, except for that one incident with the egg lady, but it is mostly men that their egos are so fragile that they can't see another man doing something without having to post something negative about it. And they can't see a man doing something that they perceive as feminine, where they can't like try and bring that person down. And I think that's a really messed up place, that where men are in society in today's world. And 100%, I was part of the problem for a long time. You know, I was very much in that bro athlete culture. you know, when you grow up in locker rooms and things like that, it's difficult. It's difficult. You want to be a part of the team, and you don't want to be that guy. And you know, it's definitely, it can be difficult to get out of. But now that I have this platform, you know, I think it's important to kind of start talking about it and using it for that reason, right?
Totally. Yeah. I can't even imagine. Obviously, you see things online every single day that you don't agree with, but I just can't even imagine taking time to like even type out 5 letters gross or anything. It's just like I can't imagine like putting that much hatred out there for anybody. I mean, again, it goes back to what is that going to do for anybody? What is it doing? Like just creating more tension overall. So, um, you brought up toxic masculinity, and um, I just wanted to touch on that because whether it's related to, you know, your lifestyle or veganism or not, but toxic masculinity overall is a huge concept that we want to talk about. So our podcast is largely revolving around intuitive eating and being mindful of how you eat and with your body. So we really just want to start getting into how toxic masculinity has affected you personally, how you're able to speak to yourself throughout these massive changes in your diet and lifestyle, and how you've just been able to kind of grow with your body changes and find love, especially because like you've said, like your body has fluctuated in weight so much, especially as a pro athlete, depending on what position you're playing or whatnot. So yeah, how my loaded question, take it as you would like.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's interesting. It's been a lot of learning, a lot of, you know, a lot of deconstructing things you believed were true before. Just similar to being vegan, you know, similarly to being vegan, when you're kind of looking at your own masculinity, and that you're kind of, you have to reteach yourself a lot of things. And you know, I remember explicitly watching a video in college where one of the guys on the team posted about toxic masculinity, and I'm just like, this is fucking stupid. That, like, toxic masculinity is not a thing. Like, grow up, be a man. And I remember specifically thinking that. I remember him posting that and me thinking, me like grow up. Like, you're just like, I remember thinking he was weaker because of it. Which is crazy. You know, it's a crazy thought to have. But when you're so deep in that kind of culture, it's hard to see it any other way. And there are definitely still days um, you know, I catch myself having these crazy thoughts, being like, where like I don't allow myself to have emotions, and I shut down because something has happened, and I catch myself shutting down, but it's very difficult to not, because it's just like my dad who ate meat his entire life. I This is what I was taught my entire life, is that men don't have emotions. Um, so it's been crazy, and learning that, you know, learning that predominantly feminine things are actually awesome. Like, bath bombs are awesome. Like, I do not know why like this is such a big thing that like guys are so afraid of. Like, and like I don't have a bathtub in my new house, but I have like a walk-in shower, and they make like shower bombs or like shower fizzies. Yeah, great, amazing. Like, they're the coolest things ever. And when I was living with my ex, when she lived here, she had this diffuser with essential oils. And I don't know if like I don't think essential oils really do anything, but man, it was pretty cool. Like, it was nice. It smelled good. It like helped you relax. I was just like, man, this is kind of nice. I like this. Like, why do so many men fight this? And why do so many just because you're a man, you're allowed to, like, you know, you're allowed to enjoy things. Like, you're allowed to, like, nice things don't have to be feminine. Like, they are feminine. Like, you can enjoy them. Like, it doesn't have to, like, life doesn't have to suck all the time. And to unlearn so many of those things, where you know, it's been crazy just to, you know, just to kind of start accepting like bath bombs. And just like, I tried my first bath bomb, I think would have been 2.5 years ago now. And I remember posting it on Instagram, and like all these women were like, oh my God, you're gonna love it. Like, you're gonna love it. And like some of the guys on the team were just like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Like,
You're
I
like,
was
you know what? Feel my skin. Feel
yeah,
my
literally. I was like, dude, you gotta try this. This was awesome. Like they're like, dude, you're wild. But like, yeah, it's just crazy that you in this world, you know, like I was saying about simps, like when guys use the word simps and things like that, it's just like men have been conditioned so much that they're not allowed to show emotion, they're not allowed to enjoy nice things, and anything that is perceived as soft or feminine is not, you're not allowed to do it. And it's so crazy, it's so crazy that so many boys are forced into this thinking and forced into not being allowed to enjoy nice things for the simple fact that they're a man. And it really is a huge problem in society because that thinking leads to, you know, leads to men not supporting women, leads to men thinking women are less than them, leads to, and then, you know, once you go down that road where men think women are less than them, that's where we run into a lot of problems with um you know, where society is at right now, you know what I mean? So it's really crazy that we force, like from a very young age, we force men into this kind of masculinity box where, you know, men don't show emotions, men aren't allowed to enjoy feminine things and all these things for the sole reason that they're a man. You know, it doesn't matter if you do like them, you're a man, so you can't. And it leads to a lot of pent up aggression in this world, and it's crazy. It's honestly, it's like it's super messed up.
Yeah, I think that everyone just needs an older sister because the amount of times that I painted my little brother's nails and he'd be like, I love them. Can you put a skull on them next time?
Nice. There you go.
Yeah, I have experienced this firsthand. So it's just it's kind of like a breath of fresh air to see men and like you're seemingly obviously like a big masculine guy, like just caring about, I don't know, aspects like this and trying to show that it's okay for men to have emotions, especially growing up in football. I don't know. It reminded me of this movie. What was that movie with The Rock? And he like has a daughter, The Game Plan, and he like
Yeah.
comes in and everything's bedazzled. And I'm like, yeah, dude, like that's exactly what this reminds me of. But cool. So we want to transition a little bit to how you're able to um, focus on your nutrition in the middle of stressful days. So a lot of our listeners are quote quote normal people who have these stressful days, are running around with kids or work or school. How are you able to try to focus on healthy snacks that are nutritious but also quick?
Yeah, no, that's it's actually, that's a really great question, especially with how much traveling I do with football and things like that. It can be very difficult, especially when we go to, you know, Alberta and stuff like that, which is very much probably akin to like Montana, where it's like beef country, right? So they're not very vegan friendly in Alberta. There's two teams out there, so you know I go out there a couple times a year, and then just like everyday day to day life, there's like shit happens. You gotta you got lots on the go, right? So one of the biggest things for me is focusing, and I'm terrible at it. I am literally the worst. But meal prep. Meal prep is it's a game changer because it saves you time. It just saves you so much time meal prepping. Finding meals to meal prep. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I've been basically eating chili for almost a month straight now because one, I just love chili. Chili is amazing, and it's so nutritious. You can pack so many vegetables in it, and it's just amazing. It tastes amazing too, right? Like who doesn't like chili? Um, but it's easy because it's one pot. You make a huge amount, and then you're good for like 5 days. It's perfect, right? So you finding meals and things that you can meal prep ahead of time just to have on hand is huge because then like we talked about, because then you're not relying on fast food. You know what I mean? And how fast food is so many places. It's so easy to get. It's so accessible that it's the convenient choice, right? But when you knock down that barrier and be like, oh, but like I have chili at home, or you know whatever that meal is, or whatever that snack is, or I brought this snack with me. I brought this meal with me. I'm not going to go get that highly processed, full of saturated fat meal. It makes it significantly easier, right? So um, just having that kind of in mind, and then kind of going back to it sometimes you have to enjoy life too, right? Like the other day I ordered vegan fish and chips from a restaurant that I love here, and it's super greasy meal. Like it's super not healthy. I understand that, and I'm trying to get back into a little bit more shape for the summer. Like gyms have been closed here for 4 months, so it's been obviously difficult, but so I'm trying to get back into a little bit better shape for the summer and football season that hopefully is coming soon. But you got to give yourself kind of grace, like we talked about earlier, that it's not the end of the world if you eat that one meal. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, I mean, if you're making a habit out of it, if you're eating out like 3 times a day, it might be like, okay, like maybe let's talk about changing some habits here. But I had it the other day. It was a Thursday night. I just didn't want to cook. I was just like, I have lunch tomorrow already because I meal prepped, which is great. So I'm like, I don't really feel like cooking. I have other things to do, so I'm going to order that meal. And I think it's important, just like if you are transitioning to vegan, like you're going to screw up. Like it's impossible not to, especially in America where dairy is basically in everything. So like you're going to make mistakes, and it's just about kind of giving yourself that grace to make those mistakes, and being able to forgive yourself, because like life's not perfect. Life's not linear. You don't just go vegan and you're just this perfect person for the rest of your life. Like like I've accidentally ingested animal products in the 4 years since I've been vegan. That's just a reality of the situation. It's in today's world, it's impossible not to. So for people that are busy and stressful and working stressful jobs, like I get it. It's not easy. Especially in today's world, it's not easy to make the healthiest choices. And it's not, especially if you're going out to eat, it's not cheap. And especially if you're in a food desert where fruits and veggies aren't as accessible, that box of granola bars for $1 is a lot cheaper than the bundle of spinach for $5. I get it. That's 100% fair. So beans are almost always cheaper though. So beans are a great choice. Um, but it's kind of about kind of giving yourself that grace to, as you learn, just continually learning and kind of getting better at doing things, right? And it's that that famous Maya Angelou quote where she says, do the best that you can with what you know, and then when you know better, do better, right? So it's kind of just like do what you can now, and kind of as you start to learn things, as you learn what to meal prep, what meals you like, what's easy, bringing meals with you along places on road trips, so you don't have to stop at McDonald's, like it. So you're kind of reducing your stress load that way, and bringing snacks like trail mix along while you're doing things, so you're not tempted to go for that granola bar that's full of sugar. And it's important to remember that it's okay, like as long as you're trying and you're learning and you're doing things to kind of put you in a better spot, great. That's as if you're doing the best that you can right now, perfect. That's all we can kind of ask, right?
Right. Yeah. Jess has our last question, but I really wanted to touch on that really quickly. I also personally, I love granola. That's like my downfall. My friends actually call me granola girl, which I'm like, I don't know if I like that, but I'm just going to like accept it, I think. But you can also just find like relatively cheap protein bars. I recognize that they're probably a little bit more expensive. If you do have access to them though, there's such a wide range of protein bars. And I always have those, like, I'm actually really bad at carrying purses, but when I carry a purse, I put it in there, and it's just something to have if you're hungry and you can't stop. this whole started for me because I was lactose intolerant, and you're right about there being milk and everything. And I would get so, Jess can attest. Sometimes I would like do things to myself, but like
before we were even like really close friends, before I knew about all her dietary restrictions, she would just like, and this is a whole other topic of social eating, but I'd be like, do you want to go out like to this place? And she's like, yeah, totally. Not knowing that she was going to actually die later that night. I was like, you should have told me.
Yeah.
what was the thing that we ate? Where were we at?
We went to Texas Roadhouse, and then we went and got ice cream.
Oh God.
Yikes.
Yeah. I was in such pain,
Yeah.
but so it's, I mean, yeah, social eating is a whole different thing to talk about, but as far as, yeah, not having to stop at McDonald's. I mean, I'm always driving back and forth between Colorado and California. And so it's just having that snack, something that is like nutritious and easy. It's going to take some time. Like I spend so much of my life reading like nutrient labels, but once you start to find something that you like and something that's easy too, it's just about taking the small steps to get there. So
yeah, so the last question, I'm so curious about this one because I would love to know how, like, what your best advice is for people like me and people who are like, if they want to go full plant-based, but honestly, the majority are people like me who are never plan on eliminating meat from their diet, but want to include more plants and veggies and have that more balanced plate. So what is your best advice for people to just start incorporating those kinds of greens or different colors onto their plates?
Yeah, like I get it. Before I went vegan, I would only ever eat brown rice and chicken because like that's what I was, I'd eat brown rice and chicken for like lunch and dinner, and for breakfast I'd have like home fries, Canadian bacon, and eggs. Like that was my 3 meals a day because it was high in protein, and I didn't care about anything else. But if you're trying to incorporate more greens and veggies and eliminating some meat from your diet, it's just about finding new recipes and finding new ways of eating and trying new things, because like it always makes me mad when people are like, oh, I tried this vegan burger, or I tried this vegan product, and they're like, it was nasty. I'm like, so they're like, I'm not trying anything else. It's just like, yeah, but you've tried nasty food. Like you've tried like nasty food that isn't vegan. Like not every product you've ever had in your entire life has been a good product that you loved. Like you've tried a non-vegan product and it was gross too. So like you're just kind of reinforcing, like it's like a confirmation bias, right? They're like, oh, I tried this vegan product, it was nasty, so yeah, all vegan food is nasty. It's just like, that's just not true, right? So it's just all about finding a creator you like, finding someone you like that makes good food, makes good recipes, or finding a company that makes good recipes and food, and trying it. And you might not like every single one. That's just the reality of all food. You're not going to like all food, whether you eat meat or you're vegan. And then it's just about, kind of incorporating those more into your kind of daily life, and figuring out which veggies are available to you, because not all veggies are available to everyone everywhere. And which ones you like from that. I love Brussels sprouts. I would eat Brussels sprouts as my only veggie for the rest of my life. That's just that's fine for me. And I don't like all veggies though. There's certain veggies as a vegan I don't like, and that's okay. It's just all about finding the ones you do like and eating them. And it's just like, you don't have to force yourself. Like plenty of people don't like Brussels sprouts, and it's just like, just because you're incorporating more veggies into your life doesn't mean you have to force feed yourself something you don't like. Like don't force feed yourself Brussels sprouts. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. If you don't like them, you don't like them. Just
and they kind of smell bad.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, that's just great advice overall, is to try something new. That's actually a good place for us to introduce our weekly challenge announcement that we give every week. Our challenge is actually just to try something new, whether that's like, let's say it's a new coffee place, maybe it's a new sport, maybe it's a new fruit, maybe it's new plant-based protein. Just try something new. Like if you have access to it, if you can get to a store and you see that weird fruit, like buy it and just take it home and figure out what to do with it, whether it's just like eating it with a spoon. Just try something new and see what you're able to do with your new hobby or food. Cool. So we had most of our questions from our viewers answered. Actually, a lot of pretty much every single question actually was if other athletes gave you a hard time for being vegan, which we definitely touched on. So I think that you should answer your own question though. I mean, you dropped a question that said, how much hair does he eat in a week? So I feel like how much dog hair does he eat in a week? So I feel like you should answer that.
That's an important
it's
distinction.
actually pretty funny. And I don't know if you've been able to see on floating past
I
the
have. I've been like chuckling.
yeah, it's floated past on the screen a couple times in this on the Zoom. And but if you go to my food blog, I almost guarantee you, if you look at every single picture like closely, and not many people catch it, but if you look at every single picture closely, there's dog hair in it.
Yeah.
Like every single picture on it, it's like it's impossible to get out of everything. And it's like my vacuum just broke too. So yeah, it's the start of like shedding season. Like they're both blowing their coat right now. So I'm sitting here like, oh my God.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of hair. It's a lot of hair. But yeah, I mean, when you're a dog dad or a dog parent, you get used to it for the most part. It just, a lot of people are like, oh, that's gross. And I'm like, I mean, like both my siblings have kids, and I'm like, man,
those are gross too. I'm just kidding.
It's way nastier. Like I've seen my sister, my sister, like my sister's kid spit his soother out. It fell onto the floor, and then my sister picked it up off the floor, like licked it clean with her mouth, and then put it back in her kids. I'm like, yo, that's way nastier than anything I've ever done with my dogs. I will gladly take a couple dog hairs in my food. Like kids are way nastier. Like no questions asked. So the answer is a lot. It's a lot of dog hair.
Yeah. What blows my mind is when I take clean dishes out of the dishwasher and there's dog hair in it.
You can't get rid of it.
What?
No, it's everywhere. Literally. I used to think the same thing actually. I would go over to somebody's house and I'd be covered in dog hair and I'd be like, oh, this sucks. But it's not until you have your own, I think. Maybe it's like a child. Maybe I'll feel that way if I ever have kids. But right now I'm like, no. But as far as dogs, I'm like, I love my dog. And there's hair everywhere all the time. I vacuum like every 2 days. It's so bad. And it doesn't do anything. It just blows it around. So
exactly. It's on all your clothes. It's just something you learn to live with, basically.
Yep.
So we're gonna move on to our this or that speed round. So just don't think, just spit out your answer. But if you like feel the need to explain or have a funny story, that's totally fine. So morning or afternoon workouts?
Oh, morning for sure.
Nice. Squats or leg press?
Neither. I hate working out legs.
Yeah. Okay.
Breakfast or no breakfast?
Breakfast. Yeah, breakfast. I don't generally eat breakfast because I wake up 5 minutes before work, but I would always pick breakfast if I had time.
Cool. I think you answered this already, but tempeh or tofu?
Oh, it's tofu. Oh my God, tofu. Tempeh is just the worst.
What?
I think this man is like 98% tofu at this point.
Yeah, because I love tempeh. I love tempeh.
We
Tofu's-
can't. I'm sorry.
What? Great. Okay.
Almond milk or coconut milk?
Oat milk. Is that a choice?
Yeah, we clearly need to take out coconut milk. Everyone says oat milk to that question.
Yeah.
Dressing up or dressing casual?
Oh, casual. I live in a house coat and sweatpants. Yeah.
I'm sorry. What is a house coat?
Oh, a house coat, it's like a robe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
I know the like crazy differences earlier when you were talking about your sister and you called the pacifier a soother. It took me a second, not gonna lie. I was like, wait, what did he say?
Didn't even catch it. No. It's a language barrier between.
We also call them, I'm pretty sure you guys call them, what do you guys call them? Washrooms?
Bathroom?
Okay, you call them bathrooms, we call them washrooms. Yeah, there's like a lot of like weird things like that. Yeah, so.
Right, I've heard like restrooms, but a washroom to me is more like a washer and dryer room, like a laundry room.
Oh, that's just where the toilet is.
Okay, comedy or horror films?
Oh my God, comedy. Oh, who likes horror? What's wrong with people that like horror?
Yeah, my roommates are consistently at making me watch horror films. It's unfair.
take them out.
They have
Absolutely.
some like major trauma that they love to relive or something. I'm just like, dude, no.
Yeah.
Um, Netflix or YouTube?
Ooh, YouTube.
Okay.
Toilet paper over or under?
I've never got this debate. I don't care.
Must be an American thing.
Yeah, I'm an either or. I just put it on how it goes on. Then I live with it.
However you grab it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Last one here. Mountains or ocean?
Oh, mountains for sure. Yeah, I love the mountains. I want to move to the mountains real bad.
Come to Colorado.
Yeah, come to Colorado.
I've actually I've talked about it on Twitter a couple times. I'd love to move to Colorado. Just it's very difficult to move to the States and work. I would have to like get a work visa or something, or basically marry an American. So
yeah, when you were telling me that, I was like, what? I was like, just come to Colorado. And you're like, talking about something. I was like, oh, I had no idea. It's just crazy.
You guys don't make it easy for people to come into your country, that's for sure.
For sure. Cool. So I think that's pretty much, we've covered all of the questions and everything. So we just wanted to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day today to be here. We also just wanted to quickly touch on, each week we've been talking about our followers or somebody who's given us some feedback. So I have a friend, Christina, who's just given some feedback that she said the podcast was lighthearted and inclusive. And she also mentioned that she was eating a cheese quesadilla while she was watching, but that the next morning she made a yummy green breakfast smoothie. So thank you all so much for listening. We truly appreciate the support and are happy to create this space for all of you.
Yes, you can find John online at JohnRush5, the number 5, and Rescue Dog Kitchen. So check those out. And to become a part of our family and community, join us on Instagram or Facebook at And Diet Soda. And we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. We hope you were able to give yourself a little love today. You deserve it.
Be sure to subscribe to this podcast and check us out on social media for weekly conversations and attainable challenges for your health.